Listen, we have to do something to grab people's attention. Very topical. Which one of us is going to start doing shows with our shirts off?
Not me with the dad bod.
Yeah, I done had y'all away with my legs enough. I ain't getting nothing else out of me.
Psychos and sickos unite for another edition of the PHNX Sun Show, of course, presented by our friends over at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHNX365 when you sign up and find out why, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary over at Bet365. It's time for another never ordinary show here with Eric, Steven, Gerald, Noah behind the Mac, the least ordinary producer in the world, and we're making all the magic happen here. But of course, the most important people, everybody in the chat, Kara, Brian, that dude, Suns Digest, Jay Woods, everybody hanging out with us on a Tuesday afternoon following the fourth Suns win in a row. We got the squad here. How are we feeling? Good for once, maybe?
Yeah, it's kind of nice. And it's kind of nice to be able to just talk about basketball for the most part, too, because when the team was losing, it was all about what's going to happen in the offseason. And we're still going to talk about some of those things. But it is nice to have a reprieve from that and actually be able to watch a competitive Suns team start to string together some wins.
Yeah, it's very, very refreshing to be able to talk basketball because they've given us multiple reasons to do so. And they're starting to resemble the team that we all expected to see in some capacity. So it's a breath of fresh air, to say the least.
So Kevin Durant and the Celtics, what's going to happen this summer? No, I'm kidding. We are going to touch a little bit. Listen, obviously, no matter what, there's always those types of rumors out there. It was funny. I did see Carlos Boozer say, you know what? I think Devin Booker and Kevin Durant should stay together. It's like, man, it took y'all like 4 games to completely shift the narrative. But of course, we'll touch a little bit on that at the end. But we have a jam-packed show for everybody today. So buckle up. We're talking sound from last night's game we didn't get to, sound from shoot-around today. Steven's got some stats and some graphics he's going to share with you as well. And we're just going to be talking about how real is this? Is it sustainable? We're going to try to poke holes in the argument of the Suns are back and maybe try to make one as well. But before we get there, let's hit a like goal. Let's just do a nice even 150 for today. Gerald, killed the like goal yesterday.
I saw that.
500 likes
on
the stream.
That's impressive.
I mean, but it's only as impressive as we can keep doing it today.
Yeah, we got some ground to make up, so make sure to hit the like button.
Hit that like button, lock in Psychos and Sickos, and let's get into it. When we talk about last night, now that we've had a chance to digest it, is there a theme that emerged either from last night or the last 4 games that kind of stands out to you as like, dang, if I had to point to 1 or 2 reasons why we are sitting here actually talking about good basketball, that's it?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few that we've talked about multiple times. The defense, the switching, leaning into that a little bit more, playing the right guys. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the rookies and some of the role players who are getting minutes. And I also think that what they're doing is streamlining and highlighting a lot of what KD and Book can do well. Not that, KD's been great all season. Book has had his highs and lows, but you're starting to see, KD getting a lot of catch and shoot looks, a lot of easier offensive opportunities, getting the ball in his spots. You're seeing Devin Booker kind of orchestrating the whole thing. And obviously Bradley Beal being out is a part of that. So, and I do think like KD getting those catch and shoot looks and Book's playmaking, I think those are things that kind of go hand in hand.
It feels like for me, they're playing more to the principles that Bud wanted to have established early. In ways that they didn't do in that middle stretch of the season after October. And obviously October is where the offense peaked in the clutch and just generally speaking. It feels like they've gotten back in alignment with a lot of those things. The big time 3 that KD hit before, the one that was the step back 3, what stood out to me was the cut from Ryan Dunn. Obviously KD gets the 3, but the cut from Ryan Dunn puts Giannis in compromise to where he has to make a choice with no help. He makes one decision, there's no one to help him there. He makes another, there's no one to help him there. And it's those type of scenarios that they can roll through time after time. And it feels like they're pressing those buttons more frequently in a more timely manner to where defenses are like, guys are just looking around like, and they're looking around like, hey, man, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And they're looking at the coaches, and all coaches doing is timeout. Because there's no other response at that moment.
The cutting in particular has been big because I've been going through and watching some of Devin Booker's assists over these last 6 games. He's averaging nearly 10 a game, and a lot of them are probing the defense, Ryan Dunn timing his cut perfectly, and Book kind of watching the defense shift in with Dunn and him kicking it to the weak side corner or wing for a wide open 3. His cutting has been good when he's gotten the ball, but it's honestly that kind of spacing and vertical gravity that he has in those situations. We think of spacing as just guys standing around the 3-point line, but there are different types of it. And Bud highlighted that today at practice. He was saying like Ryan's getting the hang of it, also has a good feel for his cuts and his spacing in those ways. So even though these guys aren't fantastic 3-point shooters, having that element to their game has made them pretty natural complements to the main guys.
This team is presenting problems for people in a way that they have been able to, is that they've had the ability and they've had the roster to the entire season, but they haven't put it together. Like you mentioned, Steven, it feels like they're finally doing what they were constructed to do. And it's funny because when you go through it piece by piece and you're like, man, like there's the playmaker, the dynamic on-ball scorer in Devin Booker who could do a little bit of both and who's having the best playmaking season of his career. You have the all-time bucket in Kevin Durant, who is also being a great playmaker and playing really great defense too. You've got your young guys, your defenders, your energy guys, your shooters. You have all these pieces that make a really good team, and you have options. And we'll get into the, is this real? Is this sustainable? But the playoffs are about adjustments. It's about a chess match. And the Suns are finally presenting on a game-to-game basis defenses with choices that they have to make and to commit to. They're not stale. It's like, hey, you might have to guard Devin Booker scoring or passing, Kevin Durant scoring or passing, and now Ryan Dunn cutting or shooting, right? Royce O'Neal shooting or driving. Like, you have so many different pieces that are finally fitting together, and it feels good because we were scratching our heads for so many months saying this just doesn't make sense, because we saw that what we're seeing now was always possible.
Yeah, that is the frustrating part, but I'm sure people are sick of hearing us talk about how
I'm sure they're
rookie
sick of
should have
feeling
been.
it too.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is it was maddening, and we asked multiple times about it, and he kind of doubled down on the approach, and now we're seeing just how much of a drastic difference it makes playing those guys. So it's nice to be validated. It's nice to see what could have been all along. It's frustrating to think about what could have been all along, but I do think a lot of the role players that are playing now are kind of leaning or helping these guys, especially Book and KD, do what they do at a high level. You know, we talked about the 3-point shooting with Kevin Durant a little bit last night, and we actually have some sound from Mike Budenholzer. Here's what he had to say about KD kind of embracing that 3-ball more.
Yeah, you know, I mean, he's just, you know, I think the thing that probably liked the most, he's just really letting the 3-ball fly. Like, he's getting some just, you know, kind of early in the clock, in transition, trailing into the top of the key, letting it go. You know, Book finding him, you know, on the one, you know, pretty late. You know, I think Book's playmaking has been great. You know, Book commands attention, and, you know, you got to figure out if you're going to take care of him and if there's any space. You know, he's finding Kevin. You know, so he's just, you know, he's shooting it. He's in a good rhythm, good groove. I think the players are figuring out spacing for him better and better. So, but I just love how he's letting it fly.
Yeah, Devin Booker is in a very special space in terms of his playmaking this season. Like, we've tapped the sign on that a handful of times this season, but now we're getting to the true home stretch where teams are almost less than double digits away from the finish line of the regular season. So what we've seen is really sustained, and it's going to essentially be close to where he finishes amongst the league ranks over this this next couple of weeks. So, you know, if we could get the graphics up just to give some numerical context to match what we're speaking to with Devin Booker. First of all, we're going to look at the top eighth in total assists at 467. He's 7th in total assist points created with 1,258. First in 3-point assists in particular with 259. He's first in corner 3-point assists at 105. And then lastly, he's first in secondary assists or proverbially the hockey assist. So it's not just winging it around the court aimlessly. There's specificities within why he's making the decisions. And for me, watching tips with Devin Booker, pay close attention to the timing of the choices, the decisions that he's making. Try to think about why he's making it, when he's making it, and look at the accuracy of the passes. I guess there's one thing to see it, it's another thing to be able to deliver it, and it's a whole other thing to deliver something that can be scored or an advantage can be created off of the pass that you're making. He's blending all of those things into one dynamic, and he's truly evolving into one of the best all-around offensive talents in the NBA.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually because we were talking about KD taking, near a career high in 3-point attempts. He was one who kind of unprompted shouted out Devin Booker and the playmaking that he's been doing, getting him easier catch and shoot looks. This is what KD had to say about Book's playmaking last night.
Yeah, I mean, when Book is drawing two and, he has the vision to see on that backside too, the defense is at his mercy. He can shoot the ball, he can make that interior pass, or he can throw out to the wing. And, with the gravity that he draws, it gives me some open shots. And also my teammates' offensive rebounding and getting me threes too. So you just got to stay fundamentally sound when I get them and keep letting them fly.
We've seen it a lot recently that Kevin Durant, he is a reliable source, as Book put it last night.
The reliable source.
We saw that one crazy assist that he had late in the Cleveland game where he wound up doing the pose and KD knocked down the three. We saw it a couple times again last night. He's actively looking for KD. I know there's been a lot of warring between the two stan bases over Book and KD, but Book is looking for him quite a lot recently. He's looking for all his teammates. He's commanding the control of the defense. And like I said, he's averaging nearly 10 assists per game over these last 6 games, which just so happens to be when the rookies really entered the rotation again. So today at practice, I kind of asked Mike Budenholzer what he's seeing with Book kind of making this little leap in playmaking that we've seen lately. This is what he said.
I think he's embraced how he can create, good shots and particularly threes, but layups and dunks, and I think he's kind of enjoying it. He's such a great scorer, he's such a unique scorer, but the playmaking on top of it, and I think our team needs it. It kind of, I think, brings us together, and he's just been really good understanding it. He's a big part of the discussions on spacing and where guys need to be, and he understands it at a high level, and he's passing it at a high level.
I imagine with a guy like that can obviously get his own bucket at any time. Last night's game winner was a good example of how he can kind of shift from that playmaking to bucket getting what he needs to.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the screening by Oso, the ability for Book just to catch it and have a little bit of an advantage and take it and get to a spot and rise up. He's got the ability to do both. That's why he's a great player.
And that's one of the biggest things about him is sometimes it's in pick and roll, sometimes it's in isolation. Sometimes he's able to play off of closeouts from Kevin Durant. But just generally speaking, in terms of drives post All-Star break, he's second to only Shai Gilgeous-Alexander per NBA tracking data. So that speaks to someone that's finding ways to get downhill. It's not always a scoring drive. It's a probe sometimes. Sometimes it's just a dribble or two to hold the defense and then make a pass to counter it. He's just getting the job done.
What he's doing is not normal. And I know that for all of us, the 3 of us here, all the psychos and sickos in chat, watching on YouTube after the fact and on audio, we have kind of gotten used to his greatness. We've talked about him scoring 70 as a 20-year-old, or the fact that in one of his down offensive seasons as of late, he's having his best playmaking season. To be able to manipulate both sides of the ball like that is something that very few players in NBA history have been able to do. And he continues to get better. He's already averaging a career high of 7 assists basically on the season. It's been 8 post All-Star break, and it's been 10 in the last couple of games. I mean, that is the type of thing that when you look at how Devin Booker's game is going to age, not just over the next 10 years, but over the next 2, 3, 4 years, it makes it a lot easier to build a roster around him and to see him age gracefully, maybe like somebody like Chris Paul, who you see well, the physicals go, the mind for the game continues to develop and continues to make him a valuable asset. Like, we are extremely lucky to be able to have somebody who can score 70 in a game, who can score 60 in back-to-back games, who can average 40 for a week, but can also average double-digit assists and is top 10 in scoring and assists in the league right now, the only player to do so. I mean, he is legitimately incredible, and I feel like we have been so down about this entire season that it's hard sometimes to take a step back and appreciate that even when it's not perfect, like, this guy's still doing things that very few players have ever been able to do with a basketball. And that's helped them sustain this. But can they sustain it? Is this really real? Well, there's a lot of elements that go into that, and we're going to try our best to answer it right after our first break. Maybe a month ago you didn't want to go to a Suns game, but you want to go now. You want to see these renewed Phoenix Suns in person. Or maybe going to live sporting events isn't your deal. Maybe you want to go to theater. Maybe you want to go to a comedy show. Maybe you want to go to a different sport entirely. Well, Game Time has you covered on all fronts, especially on the saving money front. Of course, with Game Time picks, it filters out the fluff. It shows you the best deal for the best seats. I've said it a million times. I was able to get my lovely wife, Megan, the ultimate birthday gift last year by finding the cheapest possible tickets in the best possible seats, thanks to our friends over at Game Time. They have an all-inclusive pricing option that you can switch on. You can see a view from your seat. It's not like anywhere else where you feel like you're going to get the wool pull over your eyes and you don't know what you're going to get. Game Time is here for you, and you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create an account, redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Speaking of lowest and numbers, our Bet365 betting standings not looking too hot for 2 out of the 3 of the PHNX Suns members that do participate. But maybe you're one of the 90 million users worldwide that uses Bet365 because you know they have early payout offers across the NBA and the NHL, or that they pioneered live in-game betting. But if you are not already a member of Bet365, well, if you open an account right now, you can get one hell of a deal. New customers get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Win or lose, you don't even need to win the bet. Music to Espo's ear. Sign up, use code PHNX365, deposit 10, place a bet for 5, and get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. They can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. And you must be 21 plus and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT-STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov. I want to once again shout out everybody hanging out with us right now, live on YouTube after the fact, and of course across all sorts of different platforms, TV, on social media, on audio. The PHNX Suns Psycho and Sicko family continues to grow, and we appreciate every single one of you. You're the reason why we're even able to do this. And speaking of, let's get to a couple super chats real quick before we keep talking about how sustainable this run is from the Suns. Steven, we got one from Maria.
Yeah, we do a $4.99 super chat, Maria. Always tapping in, always making time for us. We greatly appreciate it. She says, "Hi, everyone," with the waving emoji. "How are we feeling today? Me personally, I'm in a great mood," with the smiling emoji at the end.
I would be in a better mood, Maria, if you joined the Discord, because I learned that you were a diehard earlier, and you haven't joined the Discord, and you're always in here super chatting it up, being a great member of the Psychos and Sickos. Just, I want to see you in the Discord as well. We're begging for a little Maria, but we appreciate your super chat and you being here all the time.
You know, Maria is like the sage of this chat.
For real.
Always bringing positivity, balancing things out, even if it is a negative topic to speak on. So we appreciate you, Maria.
Absolutely. Zalivo with a €1 super chat, but also followed it up. I asked if they had anything to say. They didn't have to super chat. Lots of stats. I'm going to be honest. Haven't fact checked any of these.
Okay.
But I'm going to rip him off anyway because he paid for it.
Sure.
Suns over the last 2 weeks. 5th in points off turnovers, 20.3. 1st in second chance points allowed, 9.6. 1st in 3-point percentage, 42%. 2nd in field goal percentage, 51.5%. 2nd in offensive rating, 122.2. 9th in net rating, 5.3. And 2nd in rebounding percentage, 53%.
I mean, that's good. I want to fact check, but
if it's true,
if true, big if true,
big if true. I mean, They have been playing like a different team over the last, week and a half, 2 weeks or so. And I would say that, with the rebounding, we've seen them win the rebounding battle a lot. We've seen them shoot really great from deep, right? Like we've seen these great high scoring offensive games. So I wouldn't be surprised by most of those. And we're not saying we don't trust you, but we have a little responsibility to make sure that we don't pass along things that are not true.
Right. And it does. I had looked this up when I wrote about the Suns over the weekend. They were one of the top teams in points off turnovers and in second chance points over that stretch because of the difference that those guys were making. So it wouldn't surprise me if they're still in that realm.
Well, last night might have changed
a little bit.
Some of that.
Some of it.
Maybe. I won't make you read this one, Gerald.
Okay.
Arden Booker edits with a $4.99 super chat says, I think that Bud now feels stupid. He's not Butt anymore. Well, I think that is, if we're talking about sustaining this, right? How do the Suns take these last 4 games and extrapolate it over the next about month of basketball before we hit the end of the regular season? The number one thing to me, as we've always said, is the Phoenix Suns play the Phoenix Suns every night, is that Mike Budenholzer plays the right players. And we saw last night, Gerald, Grayson Allen returns, only gets a couple of minutes. Mason Plumlee returns, doesn't get any minutes. If Bud wants to, in my opinion, continue these winning ways, he's got to continue to play the players that have got him there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that he spoke to in pregame yesterday. He was talking, because I had asked him, how do you kind of approach bringing back Grayson and Mason and looking ahead to Beal whenever he's back? And he was saying, we're glad to have those guys back, but we're going to lean into the defensive-minded guys who have been playing well recently. And he was true to his word. Like, Grayson only played 11 minutes. Mason didn't see the floor at all, with Oso getting the backup center minutes. So it's good that either his hand has been forced by the data and by the eye test or by the front office. I don't know which, but either way, he's seen the light. He's playing the guys that are contributing, that are helping them win. I can only give so much credit because it took the season to its literal breaking point before he made those changes. But it is salvaging the season to some degree, at least. It's going to depend on what happens from here. But I do think this is a much more competitive group than what we've seen. The schedule is what it is. It's very tough. You're not going to win all of these games, even with the Suns playing as well as they are. But, suddenly the Celtics are banged up with Jason Tatum having an injury. Some teams might be resting guys down the stretch of the season because their seeding is already assured. So you have a real opportunity here if you can just sort yourselves out and not shoot yourselves in the foot to make up some ground and make the play-in and potentially even make the playoffs.
Yeah, I can see it. I just need to see them just continue to lean more into these things, and I think we'll get to it shortly. But the big thing being the players that are coming back from injury have to find a way to fit in with the new team, because the context of the roster and the context of the ways this team is going about being successful have drastically shifted. To go from a bottom third team, second worst in the league, to, in this specific window of play, being top 10, top 15, fluctuating in that space. That's a huge difference. And that's not something that just flips a switch overnight. That's arduous work and process, attention to detail, schematic shifts, looking at rotation shifts, players that weren't playing as much getting more playing time and seeing results literally do a flip on his head. They have to continue to lean into those things, and I think that we'll get to a big topic and all of that to come.
Yeah, obviously we are going to talk about the whole Bradley Beal situation. We'll dip our toes a little bit into the stretch and wave conversation that's been out there with Bradley Beal. We got some numbers on that. Gerald's been doing some digging on the numbies, as Gerald does, just to kind of pass along for people to keep in mind. With context, before we get there, I want to talk about the super chat from Leo. Leo always consistent with the super chats in the chat. Thank you so much, Leo. $4.99 says, what will it take for Bud to stay with the team next year?
Great question. I don't know. Because, honestly, it's going to depend on how these next few weeks feel. And, let's say they continue to win, they make the play-in, and they lose in the second play-in game and don't get in the playoffs. Does all this momentum you've built over the last couple of weeks really feel that good in that moment? It also depends on how you lose. You can ask Monty Williams and Frank Vogel about that. I can't say yet. I do think you have to probably make the playoffs. And if you miss the play-in, I would be surprised if he's back, but we'll see. Things do feel a little bit different now. I think he's bought himself a little bit more leeway, but if they collapse, if they miss the play-in, if they get stomped in the play-in and don't make the playoffs, maybe it feels different.
I don't think there are championship expectations, obviously. It's not like championship or bust. I think you're going to have to take a temperature check of where this fan base is at the end of the season. Are you saying, you know what? We hit a rough point, but we figured it out and we did the best we can do, and maybe we can try to retool, and Bud pushed all the right buttons from 4 games ago to whenever the end of the season is? I think then you can talk about, okay, maybe we give him another year. But if right now is just a moment and we end up feeling like we did 3 weeks, a month ago at the end of the season, I don't know if there's a way that you can sell that to your fan base. But that's at the end of the season. Let's talk about getting there. No hate, only facts. Only facts in the chat. So we have to take this factually. It says, the Suns beat sorry teams, including the Bucks that had nobody besides Giannis, and these dudes are enjoying themselves. KD, Booker, and Beal are the friggin' 10th seed. Think about that. Well, I do think that maybe it's a little more, aggressive tone than was needed there. No hate, only facts. Steven, I think there is a point there to these last 4 games dissecting it, right? First 2 wins against Toronto and Chicago. Now, Chicago's been playing better. Toronto's not great. Then you beat the Cavs. In theory, awesome. They're hitting their first real slide of the season and were when they lost to the Suns. And then you beat Milwaukee without their second best player in Dame and Bobby Portis, who's a starting caliber player. Is it fair to look at these last 4 games and worry about, well, maybe you're taking advantage of some teams that were at their lower moments?
No, because you're not in control of the timing in which you see teams. Your responsibility is to play the team that's in front of you in the schedule. And for the Suns, it's playing the team that's in front of them on a nightly basis after they play themselves. They handle their business against themselves, and then they go against their opponents. And for that reason alone is why I don't feel like it's fair, nor does it make much sense to look at them through that lens, because, again, they're showing things that they never showed outside of the month of October this season. They're so far removed from that space that they were operating in that once they're starting to show things that resemble that in a sustained manner, that should be where you're gauging their progress from. And they're so far removed now from what was even 10 days ago, the space that they were in as a team, that they should be lauded for the process steps that they've taken of late.
Yeah, I'm not looking at this 4-game stretch as in like, oh, the Suns are back, they're going to upset the Thunder in the first round. I'm looking at it as they were losing to the Hornets and they were losing to a bunch of non-playoff teams just a few weeks ago. So when you see the right guys suddenly start getting minutes that we've been clamoring for this whole time, and you see them starting to handle business against teams that they can and should beat, like, I don't care if the Cavs were kind of in a skid. That's still the number 1 team in the East that was pretty much all available in that game. The Bucks, I know that Dame was out, but that's still Giannis that you have to deal with, and the Suns do not have a guy that can match up with Giannis one-on-one. So getting that wins impressions to me. Even Chicago, like, Chicago's not a good team, but they had won like 5 of 6 heading into that game.
Really good post All-Star break.
Right. They had been turning things around over there. So if we're going to talk about catching teams at their worst, they caught the Bulls at arguably their best this season and still got the win there. So I think they're building on things here, and I think that's a lot of progress from where they were. I'm not buying into them as title contenders, but it's progress nonetheless.
And that's all we can ask for. I mean, no hate, only facts. By the way, I do actually love the name. No hate's only facts. Stick around. We appreciate you. Like, this team is the 10th seed, right? And I think we all understand that. Like, trust me, we all understand the context of it all. And we understand that right now, they're still tied with Dallas for that 10th seed. Dallas could very well end up in the play-in. Like, the title of the show is, are they legitimate playoff threats? And the only reason we ask that is because you do feel like there's something different with this team, even though there's still multiple games under 500, even though they're still in the 10th seed, even though they still have a lot of problems that they need to work out. And they do have pieces that are coming back that, in my opinion, might mud this whole thing up. But it feels different, right? And they've won games before, not consecutive games for a long time, but they had a big win on Christmas against Denver. Beating the Cavs felt different. Right? They had a good win against the Lakers earlier in the season. It's crazy that we can only count them all like basically on one hand.
Yeah.
But all these good wins and these good stretches, Gerald, and correct me if I'm wrong, like, they didn't feel the same as this one. And I think the point that we've been harping on is how they're winning this time feels more sustainable.
It does. And even compared to like earlier in the season when they started 8-1, this is their first 4-game win streak since then. And this has been, by my estimation, against better competition. Like, yeah, the 8-1 start felt really good, but this feels good because you are turning things around from how terrible it was just 2 weeks ago. We were talking about all of the offseason stuff that we thought we would have to wait until May or June to start talking about. So it's good to see that turnaround. It's good to see them build on progress because we know watching this team all season, you cannot take that for granted against any of these teams. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't, again, I'm not considering this team a title threat right now, but if they were, I think they've dug themselves a hole they can't get out of. But if it were any team other than the Thunder in that first round, I would maybe start thinking, okay, maybe the Suns can give somebody a battle in the first round. Maybe they can get out of the first round. I think the Thunder are head and shoulders above everybody else in the West, so that's just unfortunate. But outside of that, I feel like this team is putting something together that could make them a team that nobody really wants to see in the playoffs.
Yeah, for those exact reasons that I just, even through the muddy parts of the season, I never let go of the proverbial rope with the team because of the two players at the top of the roster.
Right.
When they're playing at their best on both ends of the court, they can go toe-to-toe with any team in the league. We've seen that for seasons in a row now. We've seen that on the playoff stage multiple times as well. And they've turned multiple corners with their synergy amongst each other before anybody else, and that's kind of helped to uplift things in addition to them being able to play off of more stops defensively.
Yeah, and I also think that when you look at it and say, hey, like there's reason to definitely be upset. I think Matt Peterson put it out there, like this hole that you dug yourself over the last couple of months means that you have OKC on the other side of things, but this team was out of the play-in. This team was in a really bad spot, and now they've shown some sort of life. Let's knock out just a couple super chats super quickly here. Zalivo with another €10 super chat says, delusional fan mode on. Suns can upset first seed OKC in the first round. Cody's the sign will imitate the Miami Heat's Cinderella run to the finals. Richards is the X factor. There is precedent.
There is precedent. I can't wait to ask Bud the awkward question about channeling the energy of that Heat team, which was the team that beat his top-seeded Bucks in that first round series. Fired. Yes, so I really can't wait to ask that question. But
full circle,
there is precedent in the recent, like, normally you think play-in and you think, wow, they're letting 10 teams into the playoffs now instead of 8. These teams have no chance. There is one that went the distance. I do think that's in the East. And I do think that Bucks team is not this year's Thunder team. But if we're turning delusional fan mode on, then here it comes.
You know me.
Let's do it.
I love turning delusional fan mode on. Brian with a 20 peso super chat. Thank you. Brian says, Dunn the Baptizer does not discriminate. Good or bad.
Dunn the Baptizer.
I like that. And then Marwin with the $2 super chat says, Beal was the issue. We need to waive him and goodbye. Well, stretching and waving, it's not yoga. It is the topic on Suns Twitter, and we're going to dive into that after our second break. You like that one, huh? Yeah, I think you did. You know what else I know you're going to like, Gerald? Spinatos when we're out there on Friday over at the Gilbert location. That's right, Gilbert location. I got my wires crossed up. Gilbert location for our Suns watch party as the Suns take on the Timberwolves. We have Spinato's pizza competition, which is horse, but pizza. I will be emceeing the event. We're going to have PHNX giveaways, hat, notebook, t-shirts, and of course the whole PHNX Suns crew will be out there. Yes, even Noah's going to be out there. You can finally meet him in person if you haven't had a chance to come out to one of our events. They're so much fun. And of course, Spinato's Pizzeria is the place to be for Suns fans. They're hosting the official watch parties throughout the season, including ours on Friday. You can hang out with the Phoenix Suns dancers and the Gorilla. Plus, you can win free pizza for a year and tickets to the Suns game on April 9th. So get all the info on our watch party at gophnx.com/events and get all the watch party info for Spinato's at spinatospizzeria.com. The official pizza of the Phoenix Suns. And if you're on your way to the Gilbert location for our Spinato's watch party, go ahead and stop at Circle K and save yourself some money, and maybe write down these days. Fill up the day before our watch party on the 27th or on April 10th or on April 24th, because Inner Circle members can save 40 cents off per gallon from 6 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. And you're probably asking yourself, Eric, with such a deal, how much money do I have to pay to join Circle K's Inner Circle membership program? And my answer, Gerald, is what?
$0.
$0. It's absolutely free. All you have to do is download the Circle K app today, put in your email, put in your phone number. By the time I'm done with this ad read, you could be a member of the Inner Circle, and you can save money not just on gas, 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, 3 cents off per gallon every day after that, but also on snacks and drinks and so much more. Join the Inner Circle for free. Download the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. Sean asking, any special guests on Puffs tonight, Eric? I think Gerald's going to be getting super high with us on Puffs tonight.
Is that what's happening?
Yeah, that confirmed. Right after your birthing class.
Right.
You're going to be
It's
jumping
a
on
4-hour
PHNX
class, so I might have to
Yeah, perfect timing.
There.
It's at 5:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, perfect. We'll go Puffs. We'll extend it a little bit because it starts at 8.
Okay.
So we'll go till 9:30. Then you can jump on. We'll do another hour with you, and then you can just hang out with us and talk.
See, we go from such great ad reads to false advertising.
Hey, great ad reads. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Well,
that's what he heard.
That's all I heard was see you tonight, Gerald. That's all I heard. Listen, there's been a lot of talk recently, and I think it was Voida over at Brightside of the Sun who initially waded into the waters of stretching and waiving Bradley Beal before Steven and I give our opinions on it. Gerald, you're able to do a little digging on what exactly that would mean monetarily for the Suns to do this.
Yeah, so just to clear up a couple things in the chat, they would not waive Bradley Beal because when you waive a player, you're still on the hook for their salary. So stretching and waiving, if you are unfamiliar, it means you take the remaining years and money on a player's contract and you stretch it out. So Bradley Beal would have 2 years left on his contract past the season, according to stretch and waive rules. That means you would extend it times 2 that amount. So 2 times 2 is 4. Plus 1 additional year. So you would extend the $110 million or so left on his contract over 5 years. So you're looking at about $22 million a year over the next 5 years just to get off of Bradley Beal's $50+ million for the next 2 years. So that's a long time to be paying somebody $22 million. It would be kind of unprecedented for that amount, but there is a snag if you look at the salary cap rules. The stretch and waive provision, you cannot have more than 15% of your salary cap tied up in dead money. So basically, it would be, if you look at next year's salary cap figure, it's like $155 million. 15% of that would be around $23 million. Bradley Beal would only be $22 million in dead money, but the Suns have already stretched and waived Nasir Little and EJ Liddell, which is about $3.8 million. So that $3.8 million plus the $22 million, if you stretched and waived Beal, would put you above that 15% threshold, so that wouldn't be allowed. So what the Suns would have to do here is kind of agree to a buyout where Beal either takes less money or just buy him out entirely if they wanted to get off his salary. That would be a pretty historic and unprecedented move with a player of his standing, with the money that he makes. I don't know if it's impossible, though, because if any owner in NBA history were to do something like that, it would be Matt Ishbia, who does not mind spending money as long as it makes his team better. And we've seen the Suns play better without Bradley Beal recently. They have the worst net rating of anyone on the team when Beal is on the court at -7.8. They're 14-10 on the season when he is out of the lineup, and they're 21-27 when he plays this year. So it's pretty clear that by every measure, the Suns have been better without Bradley Beal. They've been playing great with Collin Gillespie recently. So I think their initial strategy is going to be to try to trade him, try to get at least one good player, maybe some sheddable salary in a deal without having to give up too many assets. But if that falls through, that might be the drastic kind of nuclear option that you have.
So it's possible to front the money and get him off the team, just not in a stretch and wave scenario. Steven, that would be one of those sports stories that I think it would turn into a trivia question with how unprecedented it would be.
It probably would. But again, with either one of the scenarios that are in play, for me, it's always been, I believe that they're going to first exhaust all options. And I think Matt Ishbia spoke in great detail to that with the ESPN hit that came out last month with Tim McMahon.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I don't think that this is out of the realm of possibility. Like, It's unprecedented, yes, but to Gerald's point, if any, or to Eric's point, if ever there was an owner to even entertain the thought of doing such a drastic move like that, it would be him. I think they're just gonna make sure they're in the best situation they could possibly be in, maybe without him in the equation if the opportunity presents itself.
And I think it all kind of comes down to how does he fit in around the team, right? Like how is everybody with, like, if he does come back this season, which I have been, and I have been for a little bit of time now, a proponent of I'm done, shut him down, not just for the fact that he doesn't fit in what the Suns are trying to do. You and I kind of got into it a little bit yesterday about whose fault is it. I don't really care whose fault it is. I think it's just the truth is the truth in my opinion, but also for his own body's sake. I mean, not to like try to draw two really separate wild comparisons, but you look at, Juju Watkins, who 2 games ago hurts her ankle, rolls her ankle on her right leg, and then the next game tears the ACL on her left leg. Like, athletes compensate when they play through injuries, and we saw Book do it with his hamstring and his calf. All like the beginning of last season, it was in and out with different lower extremity injuries. For both sides' sake, I would say for this season, shut him down. But listen, I wouldn't be surprised if it just got to the point where the situation was untenable. I don't know if players, and this is just, I don't know if anybody feels this way, but if players don't like being around him, if the front office don't want him around, they feel like he's weighing them down. Like, this is the type of front office that's going to, any means possible, try to figure out a way to win. It was the promise that Matt Ishbia told this fan base. And if that means finding a way to move on from Bradley Beal that goes beyond stretching and waving, I wouldn't be shocked, because I wouldn't be shocked if Matt Ishbia threw anything at the wall to see if it could stick, to try to make this team a contender. And if he feels like that's the way to do it, that's what Matt Ishbia is going to do.
Yeah, he's dead serious about putting a contender together. And I know that there have been mistakes made along the way by this front office in trying to do that, but he's still very much committed to this. And I think if you take anything away from this recent stretch, it's that there is potentially hope for a future if you can find a way to get out of Beal's salary and build around KD and Book. Because I know at the trade deadline, we talked all about, they dangled Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's going to feel some type of way about this. Kevin Durant's going to want out. Maybe that's true if things go south again in the next couple of weeks, but Kevin Durant never wanted to go anywhere. Devin Booker has never had anything but positive things to say about KD, and you're seeing it right now. If you build around those two correctly, you can build something pretty special with those two. Maybe it's not sustainable for Book and KD to be alternating 40-point performances every night. You still have work to do. You can't go into next year starting like Collin Gillespie and possibly even Nick Richards and expect to be a contender, but we're seeing the archetype, we're seeing the framework right in front of our eyes. And if you're the front office, I think you have to take note of how these next few weeks play out, because if you continue to excel with guys like that, you now have the prototype of what you need to build this summer. And it starts with KD and Book and getting out of Beal's salary.
So I have a question to kind of round up the Beal conversation. He is out. Mike Budenholzer told you guys earlier today he is going to be out against the Celtics. That's going to mark about a week and a couple of days since he was originally listed out. No timetable really for his return. Very vague answers from Bud, per usual.
He's progressing.
Of course he is. Is there a world, though, where he does come back this season and this team can take this blueprint that you just said, Gerald, and still act upon it with him taking some of those minutes, Steven, from the players who have helped build upon that blueprint?
Just trying to say, is there a niche for him with this new context of the roster?
Yes.
Absolutely there is.
And that is?
Scoring the basketball. There's going to come points where when these games and high leverage moments come up against teams that are better on defense, where the Suns are going to need someone else that can go and create their own shot. It can't all just be on the shoulders of Devin Booker to score and facilitate on the usage to the extent on efficiency that he has over the last handful of games. It also can't always be Kevin Durant pulling a rabbit out the hat at the end of a game. Both of those two things we spoke to at the beginning of the regular season, even when they started 8-1. We always talked about them figuring out a niche or a role for Bradley Beal. You and me talked about it in great detail with Tim Legler, speaking to the biggest riddle for the Suns this season that's going to determine their ceiling or how high their floor is how much can Mike Budenholzer get out of Bradley Beal. Now, that answer obviously remains to be seen. We've seen steps in the right direction with that, obviously derailed by injury after injury with Bradley Beal. But again, when you're in a big three team construct, there's no way to duck not having 1/3 of that big three and still expecting to see sustained success that align with your original desires, not these field goal post move desires based off of where the team is operating at right now.
I think there is a role, but I think if you put Beal back in the lineup, he's got to be taking probably Grayson Allen's minutes right now, because you cannot have two guards at that same position who are filling kind of the same role and defensively leave a little bit to be desired. I think Brad Beal hustles, but I think the results aren't there behind that hustle on the defensive end, at least. I think he can help you, but I think if you look at the net ratings for when Beal is on the court with KD, when Beal is on the court with Booker, when Beal is on the court with both of them, they're all negative. When Beal's on the court by himself, it's a different story. So maybe you have a situation where you're staggering it, and I'm sure everyone in the chat's going to get a kick out of this, but I think you keep Collin in the starting lineup. I think you bring Bradley Beal off the bench, and I think you kind of let him cook with his own solitary lineups, and if that doesn't work, then I think you go back to what's been working this whole time, and you have to axe his minutes because you are trying to win right now. And if it is in the scenario where Beal is not part of your long-term future and you want to build around those two guys, why are you catering to him right now unless it's to make it easier to move him? I don't know.
But if he's not playing up to the level, then it's not easier to move him. It might actually get worse. And just for context, players that I would be okay with losing minutes for Bradley Beal at this point, I personally still would not like him back. But if he is back, Grayson Allen, who played 12 minutes last night, and then Tyus Jones, has had a great stretch in the month of March, but we've seen him be hot and cold. I'd be okay. He played 25 minutes last night. So if you're taking minutes from both of those guys, I don't want to see Cody lose minutes. I don't want to see Ryan Dunn lose minutes. And I don't want to see Royce O'Neal lose minutes. I think those are three prototypes that are perfect to fit around this team and this new mold. But you mentioned Collin Gillespie. We're going to tell you what Mike Budenholzer had to say about the fact that Collin Gillespie is technically still a two-way player, and in order to sign and convert him onto a full contract, they need to waive somebody. We're going to show you what Mike Budenholzer had to say and keep talking about your son's basketball right after our final break. Steven, it was hot outside today.
It is hot outside today.
It's getting hotter, and you're going to learn, man. The 120 feels a lot different than 100, but you can get from 120 to 100 if you extend your outdoor living space with All Pro Shade Concepts, because they're custom fit awnings that are either automatic or they're manual. They can cool down your patio by up to 20 degrees with hundreds of colors and durable fabrics to withstand the Arizona sun, to match that pesky HOA requirement, and of course with the easiest installation. Mr. GM Spo had All Pro Shade Concepts come out to his house, said he was shocked with just how fast they were in and out and how much better his outdoor living space is. They are Better Business Bureau rated A+, voted #1 by Ranking Arizona for patio shades in 2024, and have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google. And once you get through the summer, it also actually helps you during the winter, keeping warm air in and cool air out when it gets colder. So right now, call 623-204-1476 or visit allproshadeconcepts.com right now to schedule your free estimate. And chat, I hate to say it again, but statistically speaking, at least one person in here stinks. Okay? I'm not talking about us up here. We smell pristine. Gerald, you smell amazing. Steven, you smell great. Noah, maybe check out Mando in your free time. No, because Mando is a very unique full-body deodorant that's meant to go anywhere. Yes, Noah, anywhere. On Noah's pits, balls, thigh folds, belly button, butt cracks, and feet. Those stinky little feet, Noah. Mando can help you out. They're clinically proven to control odor better than just a shower and soap alone. And you can get a new customer starter pack, Noah, for just $5 off. Comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash or deodorant wipes, and free shipping. He's really upset at me right now. And as a special offer for our listeners, aka Noah, new customers can get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code that equates up to 40% off your starter pack. Use code PHNX at shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Please support our show. Tell them that Noah sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Okay. Sorry, everybody. I apologize for calling you out. Noah, I'm sorry for calling you out, but I'm going to send you the link after the show.
There you go.
Wow. Well, he called more than just me out. He called out some specific parts of me.
Yeah, your stinky feet
was very detailed.
Yeah, there was some more before that.
Okay. Let's talk about Collin Gillespie. Gerald, you guys were able to ask earlier today just about the status of him.
Yeah, Dwayne kind of brought up the point that obviously he can't play in the playoffs if he's still on a two-way contract, and that to convert him to a standard contract so that he's playoff eligible, the Suns would have to waive someone, because with the Nurkic trade, they traded out Nurkic. They got 2 players in return that filled their last open roster spot. So here's what Bud had to say.
With Collin, obviously he's on a two-way. The only way he can play in a postseason situation, you have to waive the guy. Has that been discussed as far as that process of him with the group moving forward?
No, I mean, I think there's obviously an awareness of it. Happy with what he's bringing. Really both ends of the court, he's been positive. So, we just want him to keep playing well. The group everybody's pushing for everybody. So, when we need to address something like that, I'm sure we will.
I personally would obviously love to see the starter over this win streak become a full-time NBA player. We've been saying it, Steven. This guy has a role in this league, whether it's with the Suns or not. I will say, pass along, Gambo did say he expects the Suns to sign him to a full-time contract. They have until the last game of the season. What really is it about Collin Gillespie that has led him to earning that full-time roster spot?
He competes. Point of attack defense is at a premium in the NBA. There are a handful of good point of attack defenders, but couple of teams have a few of those guys on their rosters, which brings the amount that other people have opportunity to find a whole lot lower. Look at Oklahoma City and the Boston Celtics, excuse me. They have a handful of the best point of attack defenders on their team alone. The Suns only have a few on their roster. They found one in Cody Martin via trade, and they also found another one coming back from injury in Collin Gillespie. Mm-hmm. He's someone that helps bridge the gap for them and help the job of Ryan Dunn a lot easier defensively. Add both of those two to our offensive-minded start lineup, and you see the results that they're getting.
Yeah, and you look at that Dunn dunk from yesterday. That doesn't happen without an outlet from Collin Gillespie. And just so you guys know, it's not possible for him to play in the play-in or the postseason unless he is converted from a two-way contract. So it needs to happen. He's your starter right now. Even if Bradley Beal comes back, he needs to be in the conversation. But let's shift the conversation real quick, unless we have anything else we want to talk about in this win streak. We had a great 52 minutes of Suns basketball talk. We do need to dip a little bit into the rumors unless we have anything left on the table from you guys.
Last thing from me, Kevin Durant, three-point shooting. This is his third most makes in a 4-game stretch over the course of his career.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. He's one three-point made off of tying his career high in that stretch. He hit that 3 separate times in each of his 3 stops with Brooklyn, with Oklahoma City, and with Golden State. He had 15 over the course of 4 games. Just greatness.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're going to transition into this. Obviously, despite the Suns turning it around, trade talk is always rampant in these NBA streets. And maybe if the Suns continue to turn it around, it dies down. But as of right now, a lot of focus is still, where's Kevin Durant going to go in the summer? And Nick Wright on First Things First over on FS1 brought a new team into the fold today.
Windhorse, and I'm not putting my fingers up, but I will say 2 totally unrelated people, both of whom have reputations for knowing things that other people don't know, have said to me, watch out for Durant in Boston. It doesn't make, I don't know even the pieces that it would work, and it feels a lot like what Durant got killed for with Golden State before, so it doesn't make sense.
Be awesome.
But I've heard
and that assumption is that they don't win the championship.
I guess.
Because if they were winning it, if they won it again,
they wouldn't change anything.
So, yeah, look, we're going to have to deal with a lot of rumors like that, especially as long as the Suns are still in this play-in situation. And even if they get to the playoffs and go home in the first round, we're going to have to be dealing with this for months. The Celtics are a team that we've brought up in the past. I don't know what, I mean, that would look like basically Jaylen Brown for Kevin Durant straight up pretty much, because otherwise you're looking at like Drew Holiday, Peyton Pritchard, and I don't even know if the math would work. And you'd have to probably lump in a third team, because I think the Celtics are also in the second tax apron. So they, like the Suns, cannot take back more money than they're sending out, and they can't aggregate salaries. So I have no idea how that would even happen. It doesn't seem feasible in my mind. But yeah, we're going to have to keep tabs on all of these rumors as we continue to move closer to this team's offseason.
Steven, what was your first thought when you heard Kevin Durant, Boston Celtics?
In the wise words of CJ from San Andreas, here we go again.
Yeah. Here we go again.
Nice.
That was it.
That was it.
Because until he says he wants to go, I just can't feasibly entertain him going to different locations.
Oh, I mean, listen, I'm all for keeping Kevin Durant. We spent so much of our post-game show last night talking about the greatness of Kevin Durant. And yeah, he does want to be here. At least that's what we think at this point, and that's what he's made known. But, you know, things change, and you don't know how this next month is going to play out. And you don't know how it's going to play out for other teams as well. You don't know how the Celtics are going to do in the playoffs. But if I'm the Celtics, I'll be honest with you. I don't know why you would trade Jaylen Brown for Kevin Durant, even if you don't win the title this year. You know, I think Tatum and KD, there's a lot of overlap positionally. I'm not saying they wouldn't be able to fit because they're two great scorers and Kevin Durant can really fit with anybody. But that's your homegrown duo. Sure, you have a really large bill coming up, so if you could maybe get off a couple of your other big contracts for KD, but I don't know why the Suns would do that. I don't see this really working unless one side, aka Kevin Durant, says, I'm only going to the Celtics. Because that's that ultimate card that could be played, and that usually players end up going to the team they want to go to. I don't really see this from the Celtics perspective. And I love Kevin Durant, but if you had to talk about Jaylen Brown for Kevin Durant straight up with where Jaylen Brown's age is and where Devin Booker is, I think you'd strongly have to consider that for the Phoenix Suns, even if that's not something that I would actively be looking into if I was in charge.
Yeah, I think that's only if, like you said, if Kevin Durant really doesn't want to be here and you have to extract value for him knowing that you don't have as much leverage because the rest of the league now knows that Kevin Durant wants out. But I don't like trading for Jaylen Brown changes your window. It elongates your window. It doesn't make you a better team, I don't think. And again, the Celtics or the Suns, one of those teams would have to shed significant salary first to get under that second tax apron to be able to make this work. And I think the Celtics, I don't think they could do it because they'd have to take back more money. So they would be the ones that would have to duck under there. I don't think it's realistic.
Well, let us know what you guys think down in the comments below. Is this the perfect destination for KD, the perfect trade partner for the Suns, or is this just downright stupid? Let us know down in the comments below. Of course, hit a like and subscribe as well. Let's round things out here on PHNX Sounds with a couple super chats as we look forward. Simba with a $1.99 super chat. Thanks, Simba. Says, build around KD. Dude old.
Dude old. I mean, he's old, but he's still really, really good. He's
still the best player on the team.
Yeah, he's still the best player on the team. Still one of the 10 best players. He's probably going to be second team All-NBA at worst this year. I think that guy can continue to play at a high level until he's 40 as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah, and I mean, look at what LeBron's doing, Steven. It's not far-fetched to see somebody who takes care of themselves and appreciates the game and approaches it the way that they do, extending their career much longer than most veterans would have 10, 20 years ago in this league.
Yeah, it's very different in terms of the skill and the way they approach the game and what makes their impact as exponentially better than most of the field compared to the rest of the league. But yes, KD can play. I'll say it again, as long as he wants to play, because he can wear multiple hats. If he wants to turn into a Klay Thompson type of spot and shoot player, who's to say he can't shoot 60%
right
on like 12 or 14 attempts from deep a game if that's solely his shot diet right there. And he can always get to the median isolation because he's 7'1".
I agree. I think that guy can play until he decides not to play. And that means at really any age, honestly. They were trying to get Wilt to play when he was 55, man. Maybe KD.
Keep throwing in these super contract bags.
Yeah, that's also true.
Listen, man.
Another super chat from Zalivo. Thank you so much for being here, Zalivo. With these super chats, says, with games against tough teams like the Celtics and OKC next, what areas do you think the Suns need to improve on to stay competitive? Rapid fire, one area from each of us. Gerald?
Honestly, just keep doing what you're doing and cut down on the turnovers. Turnovers for me.
I was going to say turnovers as well.
Defense, continue to sustain, continue to iron out the kinks within your switching scheme. We talked about adding layers. Continue to add those layers, but get the reps and learn the lessons that these reps are providing to you.
Well, there's only one way to find out if they're going to win, and that's to watch the game. We will be back tomorrow, pre-game, watch-along, post-game show, all right here on PHNX Sports as the Suns take on the Celtics. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you turn notifications on, and, of course, make sure you head over to gophnx.com, especially if you're watching on TV, because, of course, the party always continues over at gophnx.com. Gerald, you were able to put out a fantastic article this morning.
Yeah, I was. Thank you. I appreciate that. Just wrote a little bit. I don't often write columns because I don't really like it, but
And we let Gerald do what he wants.
Yeah, I gave my thoughts on where the Suns are at, what has changed for them, and whether they have actually saved their season. Like it's hard to navigate, but I think we can all agree that it's been a lot more enjoyable watching the Suns recently, and they're not going to reach the title expectations that we had coming in, but at least we can enjoy some basketball before it's over.
And Gerald was also on ALLCITY's NBA podcast, the All NBA Show with Adam Mares. So if you need a little more Gerald in your life, a little more Suns talk as well, or you just love the NBA, make sure you check that out. It has its own YouTube channel. That's All NBA with Adam Mares and Tim Legler. Of course, you can follow the show at PHNX_Suns. Thank you, Stinky Noah, behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. Appreciate you. QT Leg, you can follow him at StephenPG3 on Twitter. Of course, you can follow Gerald at Gerald Borgay, but you're already doing that. And you can follow me at ERIKRUBY. Tune in tomorrow to see what new demeaning nicknames I give my co-host next.
We all silly like the mayor.